In my Weirdest Alien Encounters of All Time series, I covered an alien sighting that quickly became one of my most favorites because it's just so strange. Well, stranger than your typical modern alien sighting. But I didn't know at the time that there were a lot more sightings around this time period of these tiny hairy dwarf-like creatures. The first sighting, which I have covered before, but not in such great detail, happened on November 28, 1954 in Venezuela. Just after midnight, two men, Jose and Gustavo Gonzalez, were driving down a dark road when all of a sudden they saw a very bright ball of light swaying slightly in the air in the distance. So the two men slowed down so they could try to understand what they were looking at, and they realized that this had to be some sort of aircraft. Then they came to a complete stop because this ball of light was now blocking the road. Now Jose was scared out of his mind, but Gustavo Gonzalez was upset because this UFO was now blocking the road. So he got out of his car and started to walk towards it. Then Gonzalez got thrown to the ground by some unseen force, and when he looked up, he saw his attacker. He saw a very small creature covered in hair from head to toe. He also noticed that this creature was built like a strong man, but was only about 3 feet tall. So Gonzalez, now very scared and angry, grabbed his knife and tried to stab it. But the knife wouldn't penetrate the skin, it would just bounce off it. Then another tiny hairy creature appeared out of nowhere and blinded Gonzalez with a very strange looking device. So Gonzalez, doing whatever he could to protect himself, tried to fist fight his way to freedom. But these creatures were a lot more stronger than him. Then more of them started to appear from the shadows with large rocks in their hands. So Gonzalez, scared for his life, stopped attacking. And Jose was just sitting in the car scared out of his mind, not believing what he was actually seeing with his own eyes. Then once Gonzalez had calmed down for a bit, these creatures went back to their craft and just disappeared in a blink of an eye. Now Jose and Gonzalez felt that they had no choice. They needed to report this to the authorities. And to their surprise, they were not the only ones who had witnessed this. Not too far down the road, there was a police officer who had seen the whole thing, but he was too scared to do anything about it, making this one of the most strangest alien encounters that I have ever heard of. Then 12 days later, two other men were out hunting when they encountered a very small and very bright flying object not too far away from them. And just like Gonzalez, they were very curious and decided to approach it. And as they were getting closer, they saw 4 very small hairy creatures get out of this craft. And one of them ran towards one of these men, grabbed him, and tried to drag him back to their ship. And after a long fight, they were both able to escape. And they also felt the need to report this, so they went straight to the authorities. And the cops saw that these men were extremely scared, and they both had a lot of scratch marks all over their bodies and torn clothing, just like Gonzalez. Then just 6 days later, a man named Jesus was driving with his friends when he told them to stop because he needed to go to the bathroom. And while Jesus was in the brush, his friends heard him start to scream and yell. Something horrible was happening to him. So his friends got out of the car as fast as they could and they ran towards him. And to their horror and surprise, they saw a very tiny hairy dwarf-like creature running towards a very small UFO. And then they watched it take off at amazing speeds into the sky. And Jesus was lying on the floor unconscious, and they could see that he had been attacked by this creature because he had a lot of cuts on his body. Now these 3 sightings that happened back in 1954 in Venezuela were very unique because there were just so many witnesses, even a police officer. And this case does remind me of another case, a very famous case known as the Dyatlov Pass incident. And I'm pretty sure you guys know all about this because it is one of the most famous paranormal mysteries of our time. Now, one thing that really stood out to me about the Dyatlov Pass incident is one of the hikers wrote in their journal that we now know that the abominable snowman does exist. And on that night, when all these hikers died in very mysterious and just horrifying ways, the native people down below saw orbs of light flying over that very mountain. And these orbs have been seen by these people since they first inhabited these lands. So we got hikers claiming to have seen Sasquatch and the people down below claiming to have seen flying balls of light. Now that is very similar to what happened in Venezuela in 1954, because every person claimed that these tiny hairy creatures either came out of or went to a craft that was extremely bright, like a ball of light. And also the creatures kind of look like a Bigfoot, except of course for their size. And for the most part, they were kind of violent. So it does make me wonder if these 2 cases are connected. And if so, just what are these beings? Where do they come from? What are they doing here? And most of all, what do they want from us? Until next time, this is Paranormal Junkie. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned.